You're appealing to Genesis.
Yeah.
You're saying that's the original deed.
It would be fine if they took it all.
As you guys already know, that was Mike Huckabee, U.S. Ambassador to Israel. Here's his daughter, Sarah.
We are here to welcome one of the conservative movement's most talented, most outspoken, and most faithful leaders, Erica Kirk, to our great state. We're so proud to have her, and we're so proud of the incredible work that she is doing to help encourage students across the country to engage and join Club America, which we're launching here in Arkansas, and we're just honored to have you.
Thank you. God bless you. We're so grateful, and thank you for honoring Charlie and his legacy and his mission to have a Club America on every high school chapter across the country. So God bless you guys, and thank you.
It would be fine if they took it all.
Yes, Sarah Huckabee, Trump's former press secretary, who's now the 47th governor of Arkansas, the same Arkansas her dad was governor of from 1996 to 2007. Follow the bloodlines. Friends, this is what we're up against. Trusting the plan, the Zionist plan. Forget Epstein. Just trust the plan. We're going to talk about that as I call balls and strikes in this one with my special guest, Ryan Richardson. Thanks for tuning in. Before we start, just a quick word about a very important sponsor. We've all seen the headlines about those miracle weight loss shots, but the 2026 data is officially in, and it's a wake-up call. A major analysis revealed that once people stop taking those injections, they regain an average of 60% of the weight within a year. Even worse, most of that gain is pure fat, but the muscle they lost stays gone, leaving them with a crashed metabolism and a body that's functionally older than when they began. That's why I know you're going to be obsessed with today's sponsor, GLP-1 Elevate. Instead of using needles to override your body's system, it uses clinically studied plant-based ingredients like metabolate to help your body naturally boost its own hunger control signals. You'll get the same fullness and fewer cravings, but without the scary side effects or the metabolic rebound. GLP-1 Elevate supports your goals while protecting your muscle, so you can actually keep the results for good. Get 50% off GLP-1 Elevate at trimwithsgt.com. Every order includes a complete support bundle with free VIP coaching for life, a 60-day money-back guarantee, and free express shipping on subscriptions. Head to trimwithsgt.com right now to claim your 50% discount before it expires. The link is below. Hey friends, welcome back. Thanks so much for being here. Sean from SGT Report. I've got a very important update for you today and a very special guest. But before I introduce my guest, let me just tell you a little bit about what I've been going through lately here as I defend our troops, folks, by saying they should not be in harm's way in another war, in a legal war, frankly, a war against international law. So I do stand with our troops because I don't think we should send our troops into another quagmire in the Middle East. Now, we're going to get into that a little bit more in this call, but let me just play this clip. Guys, listen to this.
This is a short-term disruption for the long-term gain.
Short-term pain for the long-term gain.
Short-term pain be for long-term gain.
We're going to have some short-term pain with long-term gain.
Short-term pay for a long-term gain.
Some short-term pain, yes, but we've got some long-term gain. Short-term spike for a long-term gain.
Some short-term pain for American consumers.
We may have to deal with that in the short term.
Short-term and temporary.
Temporary, short-term pain.
Friends, I've got good news for you. We just need to endure a little bit of short-term pain for the long-term gain. We're talking about war in Iran and potentially boots on the ground. Let me introduce my guest. He's new to the show, but a friend to the show through his father. He's the president of RNCstore.com, Ryan Richardson. His dad, a friend of the show, John Richardson. How are you, Ryan?
Hi, Sean. I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing well, man. I really appreciate you coming on today. Thank you, because we're going to enter into some dark waters here briefly, and then we're going to talk about the good news, which is you don't need to suffer from cancer. In fact, folks, you don't need to get cancer at all. The word is out. But let me, before I really dive into the deep end here and show you some of the responses to a tweet I put out last night. But before we go there, what's your take on yet another war in the Middle East, Ryan? Where do you sit?
Well, I'm very interested to hear your opinion. But obviously, as you alluded to, I never want our troops to be put in harm's way when they don't need to be or unnecessarily. And so, my overall feeling from it is war is bad, obviously. Um, I, I, I can sit and wrestle with what's going on and are we doing the right thing or not. At the end of the day, I will put some of my trust in what the administration's doing, but like you, have some frustrations with it, and I worry that this could be a long, drug out thing that we might not be prepared for.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And here's the thing, my job, and by the way, I'm somebody who voted for Trump twice, but I feel that it's my job in a time like this to call balls and strikes, right? All sports have to have rules by which both sides abide. So in baseball, you call balls and strikes. Well, the strikes I got to call on this one include Trump's FBI and DOJ not investigating who really murdered Charlie Kirk. Now, Charlie Kirk put his life on the line for President Trump, by the way, and I think single-handedly helped Trump get elected the second time. And Trump basically tweeted about Charlie after his death only twice, very limited tweets. And then we had the big celebration with Erica Kirk and her sequence. Okay, got it. Trump's FBI and DOJ, they don't care about who actually assassinated Charlie Kirk. Now, on top of that, we got the Butler, Pennsylvania assassination attempt. There's a clear cover-up going on there. Meanwhile, this new attack in Iran violates international law. Guys, I got to call the balls and strikes as I see them. I think that should be all of our jobs, frankly, but I'll take the slings and arrows. We'll share some of those comments in a second. But Article 51 from the United Nations, yes, the United Nations was started by David Rockefeller, essentially, at least the land upon which the headquarters sits in New York City, donated by David Rockefeller. Article 15, nothing in the present charter shall impair the inherent right of an individual or collective self-defense if an armed attack occurs against a member of the United Nations. Now, the armed attack did not occur from Iran against the United States. We attacked. We were the aggressor. Folks, we got to call the balls and the strikes as we see them. And I'm just not on board with this. I guess before I play this clip of the boos and then how I got ratioed in the comments to some degree, your thoughts on what I just shared. Ryan, it is our job as patriots, as Christians, as people that care about the Constitution to call the balls and the strikes. So I just called a few strikes there. What do you think?
I agree with you completely. We have to hold all of each other accountable. Everybody, doesn't matter who it is. And so I think calling balls and strikes is completely fair. And there's many times where, we have to push back on what we believe in to get the things that we want done. And we do that by talking to each other, much like we are right now. So I have zero problem with you calling out people that that you or we or us have voted for what to do what's right. So I think that's admirable, and we should all be doing that. Like you said, it's all of our jobs to be doing that, because if we let some things slip and others don't, then we're hypocrites.
Yeah, and your father is an honorable man. Your grandfather was an honorable man. And I just would like to point out, again, for the audience, before we get into this a little bit further, that your grandfather was best buddies with G. Edward Griffin, who wrote the book on these people, the Federal Reserve, the monsters that gave us the Federal Reserve in 1913. He literally wrote the book on it, which helped educate me, Ryan. So, again, we got to call the strikes as we see them.
Yeah, and Ed is a perfect living example of that. I grew up around Ed my entire life. I've had many conversations with him. He wrote part of the book Future from Jekyll Island on my family's ranch. And so I've had an amazing example of somebody that holds people to higher standards, including himself, and is a truth seeker. And so, yeah, Ed was a big idol in my life, as well as my grandfather, who was, but my grandfather passed about 2 years prior to me being born. And so this mission that I'm fighting and telling people about his story and the story of B-17 and apricot seeds is really an ode to him. And I feel connected to him through this mission.
Well, the thing, too, that's interesting about the relationship with G. Edward Griffin and that seminal book, Creature from Jekyll Island, is that it literally calls out these creatures. At that point, it was Morgan, Rockefeller, Rothschild, right? Harriman. Well, let me share this with you guys. Here's a creature, okay, from the lineage of the Rothschilds. Get this from the Telegraph. Don't leave me over Epstein links. Baroness de Rothschild urges bank clients. Folks, this is what I'm talking about. You know what I forgot to mention in my litany of strikes that I was mentioning earlier? I forgot to mention the cover-up of the Epstein files, folks.
Yep.
It does seem in part that the administration wanted this new war to help at least alleviate some of the attention, to take some of the attention away from the Epstein files. Ryan, you think there's some truth in that?
I think that there could be truth in that, absolutely. And I think, you know, to have that healthy skepticism about what we're doing is normal, and we should all be. These are questions that should be easily answerable and defendable, and so we should be asking them. And if they aren't answering them, then things start looking a little weird, like some of the things you mentioned with Charlie. There's a lot of weird stuff out there, and there's a lot of people with a lot of questions that aren't being answered. And these questions they're not abstract or tough to understand. It's kind of like, did this happen or did it not? And it's really frustrating when we don't feel like we can get answers to easy questions. So I'm with you. I think, if we're answering these questions and they're easily answerable, they need to be answered.
Well, and so many of these questions are not easily answerable, but they are answerable. And they're only answerable when real investigations take place, which is why I watch Candace Owens as appointment viewing every single night, because she's doing far and away a better job than the FBI or the DOJ regarding any of these subjects, but in particular, the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And we're going to get to Erica Kirk, too, in just a second, guys. If you haven't seen the latest regarding Erica Kirk and her military ties, which run deep, folks, Candace has already uncovered that. Erica Kirk's military ties through her mother run very deep and potentially straight back to Fort Huachuca. More on that in just a minute. But let me share this. This is very important. I shared this video last night of Trump being booed in a stadium, and I want to show you all the comments in just 1 second. But before I do that, let me play this. This is Max Blumenthal on Mario Newfall's show. And I just want to play the last part of the conversation as Mario in this interview defended Trump, saying he doesn't believe Trump went to war in Iran for Israel. He did it for his own reasons. And here's basically the summary from Max Blumenthal, the antithesis of that point.
So this is the dynamic. We have the least popular war at its onset in recent American history, maybe in all of American history. The American public is solidly against this. The MAGA coalition is cracking. The economy is starting to crater over this war globally. Trump is facing massive defeats in November. U.S. bases are being hammered and U.S. troops are being withdrawn. I assume U.S. intelligence assets are being withdrawn. U.S. empire is like unraveling before our eyes. Like if I were an imperialist, like a real, cold, realist-minded and supporter of U.S. empire, I would be furious right now with where this is going. This does not serve American interests. And yet Trump did it. And it's for one reason, which is Israeli influence. And, I'm not trying to exonerate the American system. I'm not trying to say, oh, we're just a fundamentally good country. Like, I don't think Israel forced the U.S. to go into Vietnam. I don't think Israel forced the U.S. to commit genocide in the Korean War against the North Korean people, where it killed 20% of the population. We have our own history of crazy wars and crimes. But, those were done with real imperial interests in mind, like rolling back communism. This is something different. And it also it shows a transition. It elucidates a very disturbing transition within our political elite, where they have essentially been hacked by this foreign entity, this borderless foreign entity of Greater Israel.
Okay. Now, in the minds of many Trump MAGA supporters, that's a bit blasphemous, because they're not on board with this idea that Trump did this for any other reason than benevolent reasons for the benefit of the U.S. government and we the people. I want to share some of those comments to that end in just 1 second, but we'll come back to Ryan to see if he has any input on what you just heard there, Ryan.
Well, I think that there's enough evidence now to show that there's been influence and influence from foreign nations. So I don't think that anything he said is outlandish and crazy. I think we're right to be curious and right to be asking these questions of what's going on really with Israel, and did they Did they drag us into this war, or was it for, as you said, is it because Trump, as he said he's doing, is eradicating pure evil? I think that the truth lands, somewhere in the middle.
And the problem that I really have with this idea of quote unquote trust the plan, again, I'll play this clip in just 1 second. The problem I have, though, Ryan, is that he took $100 million from Adelson's wife. And Marco Rubio basically said, yes, we went into Iran because Israel was going to do it first. So we felt we had to act first because we were going to get attacked either way if Israel acted first. So we decided we had to go. I mean, that seems like undue influence from a very tiny foreign nation state in the Middle East. And by the way, this thing has really pissed off our allies in the Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, etc. They're absolutely furious because all of their Patriot missile systems, their defense systems that we pledged to protect them, I guess, against any attacks, those were all moved over to Israel to protect Israel. And now our allies in the Middle East are furious. And there's even talk that they're kicking us out of these bases. Now, many of these military bases in the Middle East have reportedly been destroyed. I'm talking about U.S. military bases, Ryan.
Yep.
And they're not going to be allowed to be rebuilt.
Okay, some updates emerging from the Middle East, and they appear to be significant ones. Our correspondent in Tehran has learned that political discussions are underway at a regional level and that U.S. military assets across the Middle East could soon, allegedly, be evacuated for a period of time. That would then lead to Iran halting its strikes on Gulf states. Just to recall that it said that it would attack those nations if the U.S. had military presence there. And that is what has been seen over the past 12 days. Also, one of Tehran's key goals, we know, is the permanent withdrawal and closure of American bases in the region. The Persian nation indeed has threatened that it will not allow those facilities to be rebuilt.
So to that end, what Max was just sharing, if you are all on board with U.S. empire, you should be furious at this, folks. And yet the comments I'm going to share in just 1 second, they're still cheerleading all of this, and they're cheerleading Trump. I mean, can we at least admit the strategic debacle this is?
100%, right? From a strategic standpoint. And anytime I see, alluding to that first clip that we played, the soundbite of the different news stations saying the exact same thing, I don't care what it is, when it's coordinated like that, something's fishy, and it should make you start thinking, okay, this something's weird here. Let's look deeper into it, and I think that's exactly why we're talking about it right now.
Amen. Well, thank you for your honesty, because I super appreciate that. It's hard to get that out of people these days. In fact, I've had a couple of guests recently that don't want to talk about this issue because they're pro-Trump, so they don't want to talk about it at all, and I've had to politely cancel those scheduled interviews because this is a show all about truth, and it's truth as I see it. It's truth as you see it. And I want to play this because here's where I draw the line in the sand. When we hear those mockingbirds tell us we just need to endure some short-term pain for long-term gain, well, guess where I draw the line? I draw the line at sending my 19-year-old son to go to another meat grinder war for Israel and die, because that would be long-term pain. There is no short-term pain with the death of a son. And I wrote this as I retweeted this last night. If you think his base is angry now, wait until he tries to implement the draft. Okay, this goes on for 2 minutes. He's being booed so loudly he can't give his speech. Now, we'll go to the comments because some of the folks say this is old video. Fine, that's fine. I get it. My point remains the same. The base is pissed off, folks. And let me just share some of these. Fake news once again. All right, maybe the video isn't recent. My bad. This guy says, what draft? I'm confused as to why people are saying we are headed to a draft. Well, it's literally because Trump's spokesperson, Carolyn Leavitt, said the draft is still on the table. Trump is smart and he doesn't remove any of his options ever. I really appreciate this from Tao of Stevo. You doom porn slinging grifter. You suck. I saw it in 2018. You utilize the mainstream media tactics to keep people hooked via doom porn while talking crap about what they do. I have no idea what he's talking about. 2018. What are you talking about, Stevo? You are the Rhino fake stream media. Do anything to keep those clicks and paychecks coming in. Okay, Tao's got 483 subscribers. Good for you. Follow Tao of Steve. He's spitting truth, folks. I don't know what to say, man. I don't know what to say. I've called the strikes here. Trump openly lied when he campaigned about no new wars, specifically not a war with Iran. He would never make that mistakes that his counterparts most assuredly would have made or wanted to make or almost made. What do you say to Tao of Steve?
To Tao Steve, I just think it's funny when you start questioning things that make people uncomfortable, so they start attacking you. That's the exact opposite as it should be. Is the people asking questions we should be looking up to, and both sides of the aisle. I don't care what you believe and what you think, and if people are questioning stuff, that's a positive thing. I don't know why we stopped questioning things or when it became controversial to question things. That our whole entire existence started is by questioning things, and so it's this crazy social tactic that they use to call you crazy and say, oh, something you said 6 years ago, or 8 years ago, excuse me, you may not even hold that same belief, but he's holding on to that about you and trying to attack you from it. I find it comical and a bit childish. But when you hide behind a keyboard and an anonymous screen, it's very easy to throw rocks.
Well, and I'm happy to take the slings and arrows. That's fine. That's my job. Okay, my job is to call the balls and the strikes. And I'm calling an awful lot of strikes on this president because none of us voted for this. And yet the same people that seem unwilling on X to ask real questions about who assassinated Charlie Kirk, these same people are the ones blindly supporting this war and propagandizing on behalf of the president. So I just call them as I see them, folks. And let me just share this with you, too. Going back to this idea that Charlie Kirk was assassinated by a nation state, all of the evidence points to a military operation. Candace has done an exceptional job, unlike Kash Patel. They sacrificed Charlie Kirk in a ritual. I guess I'd advise people to watch Candace directly. It's all there, including the layout of where he was assassinated. So, with that said, this is very interesting. Erica Kirk, who has absolutely no qualifications whatsoever, just got an exceptional gift handed to her by President Trump. She has been signed to the Air Force Academy Board, which is a very exclusive position. I understand there's only 14 or 15 members, and it's a very rigorous review process to ever get one of these appointments. But Erica Kirk just got it, folks, and I want you to hear this.
She's just being handed promotions. In case you missed it, her husband died. So now she will be advising the Department of Defense. I don't know. With this appointment, Erica joins just 15 other members. That's how exclusive this board is. There's just 15 other members, and they are responsible, just so you understand what the job requires, they're responsible for making recommendations to the Defense Secretary, Pete Hegseth, regarding changes to the Air Force Academy. They're also tasked with providing an annual report regarding the Military Institute's morale, its finances, its financial state, and its academics. Now, you might be wondering right now, how on earth is Erica Kirk, how did she really just graduate from an apparent stay-at-home mother to suddenly being qualified to submit financial, academic, and military morale reports to the Defense Secretary of the United States?
Candace noted in her show last night regarding this, she addressed this specifically. She says, well, what are you talking about, guys? Of course this makes sense. Erica's a grieving widow. She's super qualified. She's a grieving widow. That's why she's CEO. She's a grieving widow. So don't ask any questions to the CEO of a public company, TPUSA, a charitable public company. Don't ask any questions. She's a grieving widow, but that's also why she's qualified to be CEO. But you can't ask her any questions. And why'd she get this appointment to this exclusive military board? Well, she's a grieving widow. I got to tell you guys, call the balls and the strikes, would you please?
Yeah, this is the first I've heard of this, and that's incredibly shocking.
Yeah, it sure is. So yeah, Erica Kirk is completely qualified, folks, because she's a grieving widow. Now, Candace covered that specifically last night, and that's Candace's joke. I mean, don't question why she's the CEO now of TPUSA, although you can't question her about TPUSA's finances. She's a grieving widow, and she's qualified to be CEO because she's a grieving widow. The same must be true then for this military appointment. Beyond that, here's the sad reality of what's happening with Erica Kirk and her legacy, which I think she's politically dead at this point, Ryan. Listen to this.
I have it on very good authority that they have had to cancel events that Erica was intended to speak at because there has been a backlash. there's been a backlash, and there should be a backlash when you are not being told the truth and you are being lied to, and the lies seem to be pathological, small lies, big lies. You should not welcome that. And you, least of all, should welcome this emotional manipulation that comes with, well, you kind of have to accept the lies that you're being told because her husband was Charlie Kirk. That's her Charlie. That is absolutely ridiculous.
You know what? That's the perfect soundbite for our conversation. Ryan, that's exactly how I feel about our government gaslighting us about war with Iran. You just have to suck it up, sir.
It sounds like every political speech of all time, right? Or every time we get dragged into this, doesn't matter the party, this is what they resort to. Yeah, don't question it. We know what's best for you. And that when we hear that, I agree with Candace there. When we hear that, we need to be questioning the most, and we need to be figuring out where's the actual truth in all of this, instead of the lies that we sometimes are being fed.
Sorry for a quick break, guys. War with Iran and the closure of the Straits of Hormuz isn't going to help. New numbers out of Washington show inflation is on the rise again. Another threat to you, your savings account, and your retirement. Ask yourself an honest question. Does your dollar go as far as it did 10 years ago? How about 5 years ago? How about yesterday? So what does the next decade look like for you and your savings? If your portfolio lacks exposure to gold, one of history's most reliable economic hedges, it's time to rethink your strategy. Gold has kept up with inflation and in many periods outpaced it. Our friends at Noble Gold Investments specialize in helping people protect their wealth with physical gold and silver. Whether you're rolling over an IRA or making a direct purchase, their team walks you through the entire process and they'll make it simple. No pressure, just education and experience. Right now, all new qualified accounts will receive a free 1/10 ounce American Gold Eagle as a thank you. There are no guarantees in any investment decision, and then visit noblegoldinvestments.com or sgtreportgold.com and discover how easy it is to protect your financial future. That's noblegoldinvestments.com. The link is below.
Figuring out where's the actual truth in all of this, instead of the lies that we sometimes are being fed.
Yep. So, I don't know. To quote our president, who I did vote for, we still talking about Epstein? Why are we talking about Epstein? Okay, that was the moment the fracture in the mega base began. Okay,
Yep.
Long before this new war in Iran.
I agree with
Fracture, right? The fracture began at that point, right?
that. I agree with that. I saw it on social media. I saw it immediately. It was immediate backlash because when you're saying that, you're basically saying, don't worry about all those children that were harmed and molested and all of these different evil things that happened. No, that's exactly what we're worried about, because the stuff coming out in the Epstein files is so deep and entrenched and evil. I've had to limit my consumption of it because it makes me down. It puts me in a bad mood to read what's happening, and for anybody to say, we're still talking about that. Yeah, we're still talking about that. We want answers and we want people to pay.
That's exactly right. And that's why I will continue to call these strikes, no matter how unpopular that is, because this man is covering up the Epstein files, and he is in the Epstein files, folks. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but there are allegations that he may have slept with his own daughter. There's allegations he was aboard a yacht, his yacht in Lake Michigan, where a baby was thrown overboard. There's all sorts of dark stuff in this. And by the way, regarding the Epstein files and this entire cover-up, folks, it was Vladimir Putin who said just a couple of years ago, the vampire's ball is coming to an end. The elite in the West have for too long filled their bellies with human flesh, etc. Now, that sounded a little zany to anybody who didn't know what Pizzagate was a couple of years ago when Putin said it. But now it's clear as crystal. It's crystal clear now, Ryan, because in the Epstein files are exactly that, eating babies. And Ryan, I don't know if you know this, but do you know what the youngest child is in the Epstein files?
I'm not sure I want to know, but what is it?
Still attached to the umbilical cord and then feasted on while alive by a group of adults. That's in the Epstein files.
Makes me sick.
It makes me sick to my stomach too. So we will continue to call the balls and the strikes because this president doesn't care about who assassinated Charlie Kirk, and he's covering up the Epstein files. And now we're in a new war he promised wouldn't happen. That's the brass tacks. Now, I guess I have to defend that position with those who trust the plan, and I'll continue to do that. Here's rncstore.com. Now, guys, amongst my favorite partners in the world are rncstore.com. Why? Because the products are affordable, the products are effective, and the products will help you avoid ever getting cancer in the first place. Premium B17 apricot seeds, raw bitter apricot seeds. And by the way, Ryan, you just got back from Expo, Natural Products Expo West, correct?
Correct. Yeah, we've been going every year for the past 15 years or so. And I can tell you when we went 15 years ago, there's, about 10 or 20,000 people total the whole week show, and maybe 1,000 vendors if we were lucky. This last year, we had about 7,500 vendors and about 100,000 people per day at the show. It was unbelievably huge. There's more people out there searching for natural ways or ways that they can heal themselves without going to modern medicine and drugs and just getting hooked up on another pharmaceutical. And so it's been an amazing shift. And one thing that COVID did for us was it awoken us up as a society and as Americans to say, hey, maybe I should take at least partial control of my health. Maybe that means 50% or 75%. But people are starting to take control of their health. They're looking at ways that old civilizations used to thrive. We've talked about people like the Hunzas in the Pakistani mountains. They live off of apricot seeds, and they see 0% cancer in their society, 0. And so to answer your question, the Expo West was amazing. We had about 25 people come up to our booth and say, hey, my aunt took this and had this happen, and this cured me of this. And we recorded all of these testimonials. And as we were doing it, we had lines of people coming up, hearing these people speaking about their stories about using our products. And, or we had one that said that they bought it from somebody else on Amazon. But the fact remained that they were being healed by what we have, and it was causing a lot of attention to our booth. And we got many conversations, some with big box stores that are now open to carrying apricot seeds, whereas 5 years ago we would have been laughed out of the room if we tried to approach anybody for that. So it's encouraging in the sense that we're starting I almost feel like that the world, we're starting to heal in the sense that we're recognizing something's wrong with our food system, and we're trying to fix it.
Well, it's a beautiful thing, too, because you're doing the work of humanity. Essentially, you're doing the work that is the antithesis of Bill Gates, who wants to cull humanity. Same with Klaus Schwab at the World Economic Forum. You'll own nothing and be happy, surf, because he reports to the Rothschilds, as did Epstein. Guys, call the strikes. Call the balls in the strikes. That's all I ask, is for people to be intellectually honest. No, you're doing God's work, Ryan. I mean, because people don't need to get cancer in the first place. And by the way, shocking, John Hopkins patented menbendazole polymorph, U.S. patent for treatment and prevention of tumors. Folks, they've had cures to cancer for a very long time. Who's doing this work now? Dr. William Marcus and people at RNC Store, because I don't think you need to get cancer in the first place, because the evidence is clear. Laetrile, that'll do the trick. B17. Do you want to explain that to people, Ryan?
Absolutely. Yeah. The way I like to explain it is that my grandfather, he was a medical doctor. I'm not a medical doctor, but my grandfather was. And in his studies, he found that cancer is a deficiency disease. So if we think of other deficiency diseases, right, one of the main ones that we like to talk about is scurvy. Scurvy is the absence of vitamin C. Pirates were notorious for being afflicted by this terrible metabolic disease. It took over 300 years for them to learn that all you needed was some citrus, some vitamin C, to stave off scurvy. So think of cancer in that same vein. It's from the absence of nutrition in your body. And the leading theory that my grandfather has was that it was from vitamin B17. Now, B17 is found in over 1,200 different foods, right? Lima beans, lentils, Brussels sprouts. The list goes on and on and on. 100 years ago, it was in the beef we ate. It was in the bread we ate. We didn't need to supplement this vitamin. But 100 years later, we're seeing cancer rates skyrocket like never before, especially in the last 5 years. And one of the main reasons we believe is the absence of vitamin B17. Now, that goes into there's other parts of this, right? You need good water. You need to keep your stress down. There's other parts of the puzzle, but I believe that the largest part of this puzzle is B17.
Well, that's right. And, for the note takers at home, here are the Cliff Notes. Vitamin C equals anti-scurvy medicine. Okay. How about B17? It equals Laetrile. That equals anti-cancer medicine. Now, here's the thing. It's not really medicine. Okay. It's given to us from God. It's natural. But they don't want us to know about these quote unquote non-cures, Ryan, because they can't patent them, right? They can patent chemotherapy, though, all day long.
God has the patent to B17, and that's why they demonized it in the 70s. They said it doesn't work. And then on top of it, they said that it's poisonous, so don't even bother taking it. And then they systematically, on purpose or not, when we overprocessed all of our foods, post-war era, we started overprocessing our foods. It was great for shelf life. It was great for transportation. It fed millions of people, and it was great for those millions of people. But now, 70 years later, our food has next to zero nutritional value. Our plants are being picked before they're ripe so that it gives them another couple weeks to travel and stay fresh. When our fruits and vegetables are picked at the right time, there's so much more nutrients in them. But it's a lost art in the U.S., and that's why we're seeing chronic deficiency diseases and other diseases throughout our population, and it's just awful to see.
It is awful to see, but hang on, guys. I've got two more clips to play, and they're both fairly amusing, completely opposite clips. One, well, let me call it up right now, because you've all heard of food, right? How about food-like substances? How about quote-unquote products that resemble food and are sold to you from great big giant fast food chains? Check this out.
Chris K here with, you've heard about it, here it is, the Big Arch. First of all, let's try to get this thing, I don't even know how to attack it. Got so much to it. Oh, there's also some crispy onions on here as well. I see those kind of coming out. All right, the moment of truth.
What? The moment of truth?
That is so good. That's a big bite for a big arch. It's distinctively McDonald's. Only McDonald's could do this type of burger, but it also is unlike anything else on our menu. It's a delicious product. You've got sort of the cheeses and the gooiness.
That's what I was waiting for.
Unbelievable.
It's a delicious product. It's a delicious
wild.
product. It's a delicious product, Ryan. And here's the thing. I don't know. I've never been the CEO of a company, I guess, sans this one, this little SGT report thing I do. But honest to God, if I was the CEO of McDonald's, what? I'd have better optics than that. It's a delicious product, Ryan.
It's unbelievable. And I can tell you our apricot seeds are bitter, but if you ever watch me eat them, I'm going to eat them with pure joy.
They are bitter. They are bitter, but at least as opposed to what they call that, the Big Arch, the raw bitter apricot seeds are actually good for you. I guess I can't make claims about the Big Arch, but check out the ingredients, guys, and you might want to see if there's any human DNA in there. That's one of the rumors going around X right now, is that they're allowing some level of human DNA in the ground beef in this country. And given the Epstein files, man, I wouldn't even be surprised if that's true.
I wouldn't either. It's a terrifying thing to think about. I pray to God that isn't true, though. I pray.
Yeah, you and me both. But I pray to God that the worst things we see in the Epstein files aren't true, but we know they are. And what I've said, Ryan, regarding those files and those clients, the names of which have been redacted by Donald Trump's DOJ or FBI or whatever, they're protecting the clients, and now they're asking us to go to war and send our sons to go to war in another wood chipper war for these same people that eat babies? No, that's a hard no from me, sir.
Yep.
All right. Well, for those who do trust the plan, got one more clip to play for you, folks. I think you'll enjoy it. You now have a lot in common with Hillary Clinton, who just loves Trump 2.0.
I think all of that is a very good signal that there is beginning to be a better understanding, both by the president and the people around him, as well as by the leaders of our European allies, that there can be common ground amongst us. And the kind of dismissiveness that we saw in the first Trump administration has been replaced by a much more obvious working relationship to the good of European security, transatlantic security, and hopefully Ukrainian security.
Yeah, let me pause it there. I'm coming back to Ryan. Trump 2.0, Clinton loves it because maybe it's more in tune with Zygmunt Brzezinski's grand chessboard, More wars in the Middle East, Ryan. The same wars we were promised wouldn't happen.
Yeah, my first question is what kind of deal had to have been cut with her to get her to say that? But that to me is not a positive thing when one of the more evil people that I've ever researched is on the same side as him and praising him.
Yep, and notice, folks, she's not in jail. She's not in prison. None of them are going to prison. And by the way, I do firmly believe they jailbroke Jeffrey Epstein. I think they jailbroke him, Ryan. He definitely didn't kill himself. The question is he still alive?
Convincing stuff about that as well.
About him being alive or about him being jailbroke?
About him being alive.
Yeah, which means he was jailbroke. Yeah, okay, exactly. Yeah, of course. Both. Duh. My bad.
Yeah, I saw something about somebody had broken the news, like, hey, last night somebody showed up at where I'm working, unmarked van, and then in the files, that person had been identified and interviewed by agencies. So it would suggest that what he was saying was true.
Wow. Okay, guys, as we round out the conversation, we'll go back to rncstore.com. The Pro 3 bundle is what I consume. The enzymes, the pro enzymes are important. B15, B17. SGT report is the coupon code. Save 10%. Ryan, why are the enzymes and B15 important?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if you're not going to go for the seed version, which is the most natural, and you want to go the supplement, which we have a lot of people that do, and I also take the Pro bundle daily. There's three kind of main core ingredients found within a seed that help fight the big C. It's the B17, obviously, that's what we all know about, and that's what's supplemented there on that screen. There's B15, which help oxygenate the blood, and we know the cancer hates oxygen, so it helps with that. And then the enzyme blend, there's 5 enzymes that once B17 goes through your body, it targets bad cells and kills it. Those bad cells are still toxic, and your body needs to get rid of those. And so the enzymes help you do that. There's 5 main enzymes that are found in the seeds. There's 19 enzymes in our enzyme supplement form. So we've added 15 extra that have many other benefits other than just helping you get rid of those bad cells I mentioned. And I encourage anybody to take a look at the ingredients. We've had several doctors tell us that we have the best enzyme blend, and we actually white label to a few different doctors' clinics because they love our blend so much. So it's basically what's found in the seed, but supercharged for all of them. You get more B15, you get more of the enzymes, plus those additional enzymes that I got, and about the same amount of B17. So it's a good way to take it. But that's why if you either take the seeds or you take the supplement form, as Sean had mentioned.
And I guess, what do you think about people that are on a budget? So many people are trapped right now and strapped financially. Get so many layoffs. It just breaks my heart. These corporations now are using AI, folks, to lay all off, and it's just appalling. Jeff Bezos, I guess, cannot have enough money. He can't have enough yachts, can't have enough money. AI over at Amazon, laying off all sorts of people. It's happening everywhere. It's disgusting. Would you say that the raw bitter apricot seeds are more bang for the buck?
Absolutely more bang for the buck, right? There's no processing or an encapsulation that we have to do like we do with the supplements, and we have to do the extraction, right? So all of that costs money. Otherwise, you could just get a bag of our seeds. You can get a 1-pound bag. It'll last you 4 months for $26. And so it's really, if you break it down like that, it's inexpensive. It's much cheaper than getting sick and going to the doctor. So you either make a good habit now, or you're forced to make a good habit, when you come down with something later. So I always say, please, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. It's a drum that my grandfather beat all the time. He saw people that were sick, but he knew that it could be prevented with right nutrition. And so I know that he would much rather have not seen these people come through his clinic and rather have had them prevented it in the first place.
Yeah. And is it about 10 raw bitter apricot seeds a day? I think that's what your dad, John, told me.
Yeah, we say between 5 and 10. Everybody, the 90% of the country is deficient in B17 in one way or another. We don't know how deficient you are personally, or the listeners are. So we ask people to start slow. If you have scurvy, as we were talking about earlier, and you go to the hospital, the last thing they're going to do is inject you with a bunch of vitamin C. They spoon feed it to you to see how your body reacts, because it could be, you could have some really bad side effects. I want you to think of the same thing here. You'll never be harmed from taking too many seeds. At the worst, you'll get a lightheadedness, upset stomach. There's some unpleasant side effects, but then you urinate out any vitamin that your body's not using, and it's got about a four-hour half-life, and so then it's out of your system. So start small, work your way up to 10 seeds a day, and what I like to say is that you'll keep the doctor away.
Yeah, well, let me just say too, I've got a bag of this stuff, and I pop 10, no problem. And what I like to do is take a little piece of like chocolate.
Yep.
It works pretty well. Make yourself a little candy bar.
It's really good with dark chocolate. We actually have a dark chocolate product that we offer that has your dose of your daily dose of B17 per chocolate square. And the problem is that in the summer months, they melt when shipping, so it's only available in the winter.
All right, well, perfect. And the comment I wanted to make about popping those is that I had no ill effects at all with my stomach. And so don't let that scare you away, guys. More bang for the buck with the raw bitter apricot seeds. Get a 1 pound bag. The last thing I want to do, guys, is just share this news item over at Zero Hedge. I'm seeing this all over X too. Iran is not willing to come to the table at this point. Iran doesn't want a ceasefire because Iran doesn't want a false ceasefire where once again in maybe a year or 2 or 6 months they're attacked. So again, strategically, this thing is an absolute disaster. President of Iran demands reparations. They want to be paid back for all the damage the U.S. and Israel has caused. And you know what? They were attacked first. So I'm not exactly sure how Trump gets us out of this, but I tell you what would be an absolute disaster is if he tries to implement a draft. And by the way, troops on the ground, National Guard troops on the ground by April 1st. Did you see that clip? Is that news to you too? Pete Hegseth was asked about this. There's a move to get National Guard troops on the ground all over America by April 1st, if necessary. And a lot of people are worried that's because of an implementation of a draft, and then people would go crazy and march in the streets. I don't know, man. I'm not sure how Trump gets us out of this one, Ryan, but boots on the ground would be a terrible, terrible error.
I agree with that.
I appreciate you, and thank you so much for your candor coming on the show today.
Of course. Thank you for having me, Sean. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I can't wait for next time.
Oh, God bless you. All right, there he goes, folks. Ryan Richardson, the president of RNCstore.com. Friends, if you're still with us, thank you. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. I'll do my level best to continue calling strikes and balls and strikes and taking the slings and arrows from Steve-O over there, who doesn't like it one bit. And until next time, guys, check us out to get the real news 24/7 at SGTreport.com. Appreciate you. God bless, guys. Bye-bye.
Now, there's mounting evidence that pesticides are being used as a part of our deliberate population control program, but it's also an attack on our cognitive abilities as well. And they specifically want to target older and wiser people because the new generation's made up of TikTok robots who don't know how to think for themselves for the most part. They actually banned the use of this OP completely in 2021. And then they came back and unbanned its use in 2023. I mean, they're clearly playing a game, Sean, and they're using glyphosate, I think, as a distraction because these things are even more powerful.